Hey, 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 everybody. Good morning. And it is a very good morning because while we still don't know the exact breakdown of the Geno Smith contract, we got some clarity early this morning, very early this morning, actually, and it's better than we thought. It's actually a lot better than we thought. Yesterday, we got word that the contract was going to be 3 years, $105 million, so $35 million a year. And today, we have learned that that is just the best case scenario for Geno Smith. So, if you were somebody who was a little concerned about the contract yesterday, if you were somebody who maybe didn't like it, if you were somebody who was really down on it, then I think that today's news is going to make you feel a lot better. And I mean a lot better. This contract just went from pretty good to phenomenal. And we still don't know the exact breakdown yet. We're going to need some time to figure out what's going on here for sure. But as of right now, this seems really, really good. And I mean really, really good in terms of like Geno Smith decided to play really nice. I mean Geno Smith decided to basically redefine what is happening at the quarterback position in a way. And what I mean by that is Geno Smith, based off the data we got this morning, has taken a true mid-level deal. A true mid-level deal, not just the mid-level deal based off what everyone considers to be a mid-level deal at the quarterback position right now based off what people are getting. I mean an actual mid-level deal that doesn't exist anymore. I talked about it earlier this offseason. Nobody's signing mid-level deals at quarterback anymore. Everyone either gets paid or they don't. Geno Smith ended up in the middle, it looks like. So shout out to him, I guess, is what I'm saying here. And he can still get there. Okay, let's just quickly break down what we're talking about here. So, Geno Smith's contract with the Seahawks, base value, the minimum contract that he has signed here is $25 million per season. So 3 years, $75 million total. There are $30 million in incentives. So basically, what we thought was $35 million a year, a $100 million contract. It could still get there, but he's going to have to earn it. He has an average of $10 million in incentives each year. So that's got to be a big win here. $40 million is fully guaranteed at signing. So while we don't know the exact breakdown yet, that pretty much guarantees it's really going to be a 2-year deal. That pretty much guarantees that in reality, this is a deal that is easy to get out of after 2 years. Maybe even after 1, we still don't know yet. But in all likelihood, we're looking at a deal that is effectively 2 years. So definitely be prepared for the possibility of Geno Smith being around for 2 more years. Then we're moving on to somebody else. I think that while we don't know the exact cap hits yet, that is the overwhelmingly most likely scenario. But that's not even the most interesting thing here. The interesting thing here is that Geno Smith has taken a deal that may only end up being worth $25 million per season. This is immediately after Derek Carr got $37.5 million per season. This is immediately before knowing that Daniel Jones is going to get at least $35 million a year, maybe $40 million a year. So I said yesterday that Geno Smith played nice. He played much nicer than I even thought. Now, to really unpack what's going on here, we need to understand what incentives do to the salary cap, because now we know that a very sizable chunk of Geno Smith's contract is tied up in incentives. And we can't yet know exactly how this affects the cap. So let's run through it here. This Field Goals article does a good job breaking it down. I was able to confirm this on several other sources as well. Basically, a player's incentives are grouped into 2 categories: for salary cap purposes. They take a look at each incentive. And if the player reached that incentive in the prior year, the incentive is considered likely to be earned, meaning that it does count against the cap. But if the player did not reach that threshold, did not achieve that incentive in the prior year, it does not count against the cap. And basically, if the player doesn't reach the expected incentive or reaches the unexpected incentive, it affects the salary cap for the next year. So the lesson to take away here is that Geno Smith's cap hit for the next couple years, it's not going to be the maximum, the $35 million a year number, but it is going to be more than the base number of $25 million. We just need to see what the incentives are. So as an example, let's say one of the incentives for Geno Smith next year is 4,000 passing yards, which he accomplished last year. He threw for 4,000. That incentive would count against the cap. But if one of the incentives is to throw for 4,500 yards, that one would not, because he did not do that last year. Likewise, if one of the incentives is making the playoffs, that would count against the cap because he made the playoffs last year. If one of the incentives is win a playoff game, then that doesn't, because he did not do that last year. So therefore, we need to see what the exact incentives are before we know exactly what's going on with the cap here. But odds are very good some of the incentives are things he did not accomplish last year. Some of the incentives are probably going to be like win the division, win a playoff game. Maybe they set the bar at like 35 touchdowns. Maybe they set the bar for like I said, 4,500 yards. Maybe 10 interceptions or less could be an incentive, I guess, which he did not do last year. I believe he had 11 interceptions last year. So we just need to see what the incentives are, and we need to see what the dead money hits are going to be for year 2, year 3. And maybe we need to see if there's some sort of ability to release Geno immediately after the Super Bowl, less than a year from now. That's what happened with Derek Carr. But the contract news we have right now is extremely appealing. And if you were somebody who didn't care for the extension yesterday, I think it's time to get on board. This is almost certainly now one of the best quarterback deals in the league. And I don't know why Geno Smith agreed to this. Maybe the market for him really wasn't there. I seriously doubt it based off what Derek Carr just got. But maybe he's just trying to bet on himself. Maybe he just feels like he'll be able to... Maybe he just has extreme confidence in his ability to play a high level of football. I don't know. But this is definitely a surprise and a very welcome one. Very welcome. I can't wait to see what these incentives are. Some of them are probably going to be likely to be reached, but a good chunk of them probably won't be. So you're going to look at a much reduced cap hit from what we initially assumed. So base value of Geno Smith's contract, $25 million a year for 3 years, $40 million guaranteed, meaning it's basically a lock that he'll be easy to move on from after year 2. And most of the additional money, the difference between what we thought it was yesterday and what it is today, is incentive based. What those incentives are, hopefully we find out soon. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Great news today.